The Gospel of Mark, which is the first gospel ever written, records these words. The crowd shouted the louder, "Crucify him!" So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas to them. And after he had Jesus scourged, he handed him over to be crucified. Wishing to satisfy the crowd. Pilate thought that he could satisfy the crowd. They hated Pilate. Pilate worked for the Romans. He took everybody's taxes to be sent to Rome. The people hated him. Little did he know that he would never be able to please the crowd. It was impossible for him to please the Jewish people. And it also was impossible for him to please the Romans. Jesus literally ends up on a cross as a consequence of Pilate's behavior of wishing to satisfy the crowd. We fellow sinners spent our lives trying to please the crowds. We do many things wishing to please people, to satisfy the crowds. And this is not just a problem for people who are people's pleasers. It's for everyone. Ever since we were kids, we were people's pleasers. We kept repeating the same funny thing when everybody applauded. We cleaned plates of food not because we liked it, but because we knew mom would be happy or grandma would be proud. We studied hard not because we wanted to learn something useful, but because we longed for that A+ that would satisfy the family. Wishing to satisfy the crowd. We run for validation to validation, seeking that star on the forehead after every good deed. And in a way, we stay kids even into adulthood, because we try to please the crowd, surrendering even our deepest convictions to the peer pressure. And some may even end up living miserable lives as they try to seek validation from others. This is very true with social media these days. Wishing to satisfy the crowd. To this, modern society has an answer. Don't be a people's pleaser, we are told. Can't make everybody happy. Just follow your dreams, we are told. In other words, think about yourself. Nobody else has to tell you what to do. Well, there is some truth to thinking about ourselves. In the end, modern society is very selfish. This overemphasis on the self leads to hedonism, to vice, to addiction, and even to destructive habits. But Jesus brings a third option, and this is the good news. The priority is neither to please the crowds nor to appease ourselves, but most importantly, pleasing the Father. Pleasing the Father. Christ Jesus, though he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God something to be grasped. Rather, he emptied himself. He humbled himself, becoming obedient even to the point of death, even death on a cross. That was St. Paul writing to the community at Philippi. So Jesus on the cross taught us to please the Father the hard way. And the Gospel of Mark tells us that even Jesus himself, in his broken body, he felt the apparent abandonment from the Father. Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani. These are the only words of Jesus at the cross recorded by the Gospel of Mark. But we know that the Father had not abandoned Jesus. It wasn't the suffering of Jesus that pleased the Father. It was the love with which Jesus gave himself on the cross for us that pleased the Father. And so the letter to the Philippians continues. Because of this, God greatly exalted him and bestowed on him every name which is above every name. Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. So how do we please the Father? In our daily things, do we truly seek to please the Father? There is so much freedom in doing that. Because if we do what pleases the Father, then everything comes into place. Everything is in order. Everything fits right. We could go through the most difficult circumstances in life, but if in them we seek to please the Father, then we are truly free. It is not the suffering that we endure many times that pleases the Father. It is the love with which we do things that pleases the Father. So we have three options: satisfying the crowds, appeasing ourselves, or pleasing the Father. So which one will we choose?